Hey all. So, obviously the place to start with this episode is to talk about the ending, because before I even watched this episode, I stumbled upon a review article that said the ending to the anime felt more like an intermission than an actual conclusion to the season, and after reading the corresponding chapters, it's also kind of hard to disagree with that assessment. This episode especially feels like one of those times where, despite nothing being announced, Netflix TMS, like someone at the top, must know there's going to be a season 2, but even going by that logic, this is just a really odd place to end things. But even more so, the weird caveat is that after watching the episode, I do understand a bit as to why the series ends on this weird note, because as much as I would have liked it to end on my preference of somewhere around chapter 73, that was also kind of going to be a problem since events within the series are always moving at a very quick pace. So translating that from the printed page to the screen, it's gonna flow even faster. So yeah, I don't know how you could even avoid it. It's one of those cases where I don't know how you could even avoid an ending like this, frankly. Now, the episode itself pretty much just covered. Now, as far as the episode itself, it pretty much just covers the entire aftermath of the transfer exam arc and goes a little bit into the beginning of the JCC infiltration arc, where after saying goodbye to everyone, and especially a hilarious goodbye between Taro and Now, where her reaction to learning his identity is still just as hilarious as it was in the manga. In fact, it might even be more so here simply for the voice acting and hearing that disappointment in her voice and just having her worldview completely shattered was like perfectly translated in the script. In saying that, though, a major thing to talk about is though a conversation with Akira and Taro where we learned that yeah, Taro lied to her about Rion, and yeah, if you guys want my full opinion on what I felt about this reveal, go read my Duel Chapter 71 and 72 review. But to put it bluntly, it's one of those things where I understand why Taro lied. It's clear anything to do with Rion brings back very traumatic memories for him. But in saying that, it doesn't make the circumstances any less contrived for me. Like the reveal of what really happened feels the reveal of what really happened feels like it's being artificially delayed for any kind of dramatic tension. Like it's only going to be it's going to be revealed at only a time where the author feels like it's perfect. But the problem, I think, I think pretty much what happened here is Suzuki kind of found himself a little bit on a little bit in a I don't know if this is what happened or not, but it feels like Suzuki found himself in one of those weird situations where the moment he introduced Rion to the series, he kind of opened a can of worms that it's like a can of worms in a Pandora's box, so to speak, where after he introduced her, it became kind of inevitable that he was going to have to reveal it at some point, but he kind of found that situation where he wasn't ready to reveal it either. So it's like, yeah, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Uh, After that point and saying all the goodbyes, though, everything hits the fan again with Nao and Mfuyu being kidnapped by Uzuki in an attempt to convince them to join his cause. And while that's going on, it also cuts. So, but where Mfuyu, in great fashion, basically says, "Yeah, what if we don't want to join, asshole? What do we do then?" And I do kind of like how they respond. Of like it feels like being spit in the face in a way. But while that's going on, it also cuts back to the Sakamoto store where we learn Taro failed on the technicality that he has a bounty on his head, and the JCC doesn't accept applicants who are considered criminals. So once again, it's that bounty rearing its ugly head and reminding us that Taro, he he really needs to like resolve this problem because it's really interfering with him stopping Uzuki. Like at every turn, and at this point it's becoming more and more obvious as to why Uzuki put the bounty on his head, because Uzuki knew that putting a bounty on Taro's head would put a roadblock in his path of stopping him at every turn, and this is again one of those reminders that it's stopping him from doing that. Of course, Nagamo, of course, thankfully Nagamo comes in with, like usual, with the solution that if he can't infiltrate as a student, then why not try as a teacher, showing Taro a teaching internship, which eventually leads to the reveal that he's now infiltrated JCC, disguised as his wife, Aoi. Aoi. So, yeah, we've got a couple things going on at once here, and the most fascinating thing for me is how these seemingly separate plot threads are going to be tied together and how everything is going to overlap. Of course, we do gotta wait for potential season 2 to know for sure, and in my case, I just have to read on in the manga. But yeah, and and being honest, when I first read the bit about going undercover as a teacher, my mind was kind of all over the place at the time. Like I was, when it was first revealed that Aoi, where we see Aoi as the teacher, I was excited at the idea of Aoi having a lot a larger role to play in this arc. Then disappointed when I learned it was Taro disguised as Aoi, but then kind of then I kind of evened out when I considered the whole idea that the reason Taro's doing this is to protect his family. So putting her in harm's way like that is antithetical to that goal, especially since Aoi doesn't really have any any training herself. It does. So it is one of those things where it's like I was all over the place when this reveal was made, but that's all kind of evened out for me. But it does. But I will also say too, it did make me realize and hope for the future that there will be a time where Aoi might be forced to get more directly involved in what's going on. Like I don't like again, I don't wish any danger upon her, but simultaneously it's feeling like there's going to have to become a point at some where Aoi is going to have to get more directly involved whether she likes it or not. Um, with that said, there's a rather unsettling reveal to talk about with this episode, which is that at one point, at one like this episode jumps all over the place, and admittedly it can be a little jarring, but the episode cuts to at one point the episode cuts to Nagamo and Shishiba on a job talking about the current state of things, and it's it's an unsettling and it's an unsettling state of affairs to say the least, as we come to learn the repercussions of Uzuki's attacks should he actually succeed on his goal, which is, to put it simply, total societal collapse. Like if Uzuki succeeds in destroying the JA, that is very likely to happen. As one unspoken thing about the JA's role in society is that while they accept contracts to kill anyone, their work has in large part helped control the crime rate in Japan by dealing with the cases that fall that dealing with the with the cases that fall through the cracks and escape the eyes of Japan's police department. And the JA helps keep control of the crime rate from going out of control. So if the JA is completely destroyed, then it's almost a guarantee that that gives a free pass for criminals to run rampant in Japan. And with only the police force to manage it, well, as I said, the societal collapse is inevitable. And it's one of those things that makes you wonder, is Uzuki aware of this and is very much wanting this outcome? Or is he so entrenched in his own personal vendetta against the JA that he isn't aware or just doesn't care about the consequences? And given Uzuki's emotional detachment, you can almost make an argument for basically either one of those cases being true, that he's so laser focused on his goal that whether he's aware of the consequences or not, of what destroying the JA could mean for Japan, he just doesn't care, which he doesn't care because at the end of the day, he only cares about how he can achieve his goal, which in itself makes it all the more fascinating to wonder exactly what happened in Uzuki's past to make him despise the JA so much. Like that is like, again, that is the $1,000,000 question right now, and I have a feeling the answer is a lot more gruesome than even I can imagine. And I will say too, I love Nagamo's line in this part of the episode about how sometimes the worst thing than the line between good and evil is a fanatical sense of justice, because that can be because that in itself is more often than not coated in many shades of gray. And although the consequences of Uzuki's actions are undeniably going to throw everything into chaos, the part that starts to make it more difficult is when people start to believe in that cause. So, yeah, it's like just the whole idea in itself being implanted in our heads that, yeah, that there is going to be a lot of that this is going to that the consequences are going to be catastrophic is just makes the whole reason to stop Uzuki all the more important, I guess, at this point. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Blue Sky, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just shove it around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.